Millennials and Gen Z are having fewer children, getting married later, and buying homes later. Headlines are telling us to catch up and get the job, but then they slam us for having a work ethic that looks a little different than theirs, all while being the most educated and diverse generations in recorded history. But I don't think it's worth speaking about the shots missed, rather the goalpost moving. Kind of anxiety-provoking, isn't it? As I confronted my own goalposts a few years ago, I did what any good millennial would do. I succumbed to my anxiety about my future, uprooted my life, and moved to the mountains. Anxiety, shocking, is nothing new. 19th century philosopher Soren Kierkegaard defined anxiety as a dizzying freedom of possibility. He said anxiety is the beginning of the feeling of true freedom, and he wrote, anxiety is really the ticket to freedom. He said, a human being is a synthesis of the infinite and the finite, of the temporal and the eternal, of freedom and necessity. In short, a synthesis. Are we lost? Excellent. Welcome to philosophy. Kierkegaard wrote of the finite as our confining factors and the infinite as our expanding factors. You can think of confining factors in this case as when society tells us we should be having kids, getting married, and buying homes. You can think of expanding factors as your ability to never have kids, have a geriatric marriage, and live your days on a deserted island. The finite parameters in which we live and the paralysis of choosing to buy the house or have the kid traps us in that finite. Lost in the finite looks to me like a trap of convention, the life path, if you will. Funny enough, I like to think of infinitude as a type of paralysis as well, but of the worst sort. Kierkegaard said the self runs away from itself in possibility so that it has no necessity to return to. Did you get that? I think what he's saying here is that if we approach a fork in the road and think of every possible outcome for either direction, we will never choose a direction. As it turns out, running away to the mountains from your fear of the future doesn't work. My own self returned to the same milestone anxieties from which it ran. So what happens when finitude and infinitude find themselves out of their equilibrium and their synthesis? Well, sickness of the spirit Kierkegaard called despair. Despair is the consequence of not willing to be the self one truly is. Kierkegaard believed to hide from one's anxiety and unknowingly end in despair was the worst thing you can do. He believed to become aware of one's imbalance of the self was to find the ticket to freedom. Kierkegaard said truth is subjective. Live that truth. He left us with a daunting choice to make, a choice with no rational basis on which to make it. How kind of him. But I think he left us with a choice to constantly choose to confront ourselves, to learn from the infinite and the finite, to find a synthesis, to balance the scales, to choose the self. But we have to stop scrolling our lives away because we're bored and uninspired. Kierkegaard referred to boredom as dreadfully boring. Take what Kierkegaard called the leap of faith. Believe in the absurd, even if that absurd means buying a house for you and your cat one day despite all the avocado toast the boomers told you not to buy. Take the leap of faith for yourself. Do not let yourself run away from itself. And remember, Kierkegaard said life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced.